Buying a home in Florida based on a vacation you took 10 years ago isn't a relocation plan. It's a tactical failure that will cost you six figures in the wrong zip code. Hey there, welcome to the North Florida VA Real Estate Podcast. I'm Darian's avatar, the voice he sends out when he's balancing real estate strategy, hospital shifts, and cheering on two future karate black belts at home. And somewhere in between all that, he's still convinced his golf swing just needs one small adjustment. Before we jump into today's episode, do me one quick favor. Download this episode so you can come back to it later. Because what we're talking about today is the grand map of Florida. If you know another service member planning a move in the next 1 to 3 years, send this episode their way. Choosing the right region inside Florida can change what the next decade of your life looks like. Today, we are executing episode 37, North, Central, or South, which Florida fits you best. We are moving past the brochures and the postcard Florida fantasies to get into the real-world reconnaissance of where you should actually plant your flag. Right now, the intel most veterans are working with is fundamentally broken. You're hearing that Florida is full or that insurance is impossible. If you're struggling to decide where to move, it's likely because you're looking at Florida as one single entity. It's not. It is a collection of different operating environments. Each one supports a different type of family, a different type of career path, and a different type of transition timeline after service. We aren't choosing a house today. We are choosing your mission zone. Buying a home in Florida based on a vacation you took 10 years ago isn't a relocation plan. It's a tactical failure that will cost you six figures in the wrong zip code. In 2026, the problem isn't a lack of homes, it's a lack of clarity. Many of you are sitting on your VA entitlement paralyzed because you don't want to trade a high-cost area in the Northeast for a different kind of high-cost trap in the South. You're looking for the high ground, that perfect balance of VA healthcare access, veteran community, and property value that actually builds a legacy. The turning point for my clients always happens when we stop talking about Florida and start talking about the objective. When one special ops veteran I worked with realized that North Florida offered the same pine canopy privacy he loved in the Carolinas. But with a massive VA hospital in Gainesville and zero state income tax, the mission changed. He didn't need a beach, he needed a base of operations. Today, the invitation is simple. Stop guessing. The market has rebalanced, and for the first time in years, the buyer has the tactical advantage. But you can only use that advantage if you know which zone fits your specific anchors. Now that we've cleared the fog on the state of the market, we need to dismantle the biggest myth holding veterans back from the Sunshine State. If you're waiting for 2019 housing prices to come back, you're waiting for a ghost. But if you want to use your VA 0% down benefit without being outbid by 30 cash offers, your window is wide open. Most relocation mistakes happen before anyone schedules a showing. They happen when families choose a region based on reputation instead of alignment. Someone hears Miami is the place to be, or they hear Jacksonville is just like the South. These statements might be true, but the right question is, which mission zone fits your life best? Because your region determines what daily life feels like. It determines how long your commute becomes, how easy VA healthcare access is, and how stable your insurance costs remain. The problem you're facing right now is information overload. You see headlines about insurance premiums and assume that's the reality for the whole state. This is broken intel. The myth is that to live in Florida, you have to be a multimillionaire or a retiree. Veterans often feel like they've missed the window, thinking they should have moved in 2020. That line of thinking is a trap. While prices have stabilized near $420,000 statewide, the way you buy is more important than when you buy. Many veterans struggle because they try to force a South Florida lifestyle on a North Florida budget. The turning point comes when you realize Florida is a choose-your-own-adventure economy. Military families relocate differently than civilians. You adapt faster. You benefit more from choosing locations strategically. The goal is positioning your family somewhere strong. Strong for the next 3 years and strong for the next generation. If you're waiting for 2019 prices, you're waiting for a ghost. But if you're looking for a stabilized market where you can finally use your VA 0% down benefit without being outbid by 30 cash offers, then right now is your green light window. As of 2026, VA loan limits for most Florida counties have increased to $832,750. meaning you have more heavy weaponry in your financial arsenal than ever before. We've identified the mental barrier. Now we're going to map out the strategy for navigating the 3 distinct Florida regions, starting with the area that offers the most stability for those transitioning out of the service. If you want land, oak trees, and a massive VA hospital within striking distance, you don't want postcard Florida. You want the tactical ridge. Let's start mapping the first mission zone, the north. I call this the tactical ridge. Geographically, this is Pensacola over to Jacksonville and down to Gainesville. This area works best for service members who want a smooth landing after separation and want to keep their transition stability high. North Florida continues to function as a military-friendly environment even after the uniform comes off. There are massive bases nearby like NAS Pensacola, Mayport, and Camp Blanding. There are federal employment pipelines and logistics employers already established. That familiarity matters. After transition, your location provides the structure the military used to provide. Choosing the north helps replace that structure naturally. A major advantage here is the VA healthcare positioning. With the massive VAMC in Gainesville and major clinics in Jacksonville and Pensacola, medical access is a short-range mission. If you have a high disability rating, being in this zone keeps healthcare working for you instead of making it a full-day event. There is also the insurance predictability factor. North Florida corridors often provide more stable ownership costs because you are further from the primary hurricane strike zones of the South. This zone is for the veteran who wants land, oak trees, and a cost of entry that allows them to keep their war chest intact. Transition stability zones are for service members who want that military-friendly familiarity even after service ends. During active duty, the installation provides structure. After transition, your location provides that structure. Choosing a transition stability zone helps replace that structure in a way that feels natural instead of disruptive. There is another important idea to understand about this mission zone. Your first relocation after service does not have to be your final relocation. Sometimes the smartest strategy is choosing a strong landing zone first, then repositioning later once your long-term civilian career path becomes clearer. If the north is about stability, the center is about growth. Let's look at the logistics hub of the state. In Florida, the mortgage is the easy part. It's the big 3, insurance, taxes, and HOAs, that will ambush your monthly budget if you aren't prepared. Most veterans calculate their affordability based on principal and interest, but in Florida, you have to account for the Florida factor. The 2026 update is actually good news. The insurance market is stabilizing. We've seen 17 new carriers enter the state since the legislative reforms. If you buy a home with a 2023 plus roof or new construction, your premiums in Central Florida are averaging around $2,500 a year. If you buy a 1980s home in South Florida, you might be looking at $6,000 plus. Then there are property taxes. Florida has a Save Our Homes cap, but when you purchase, the taxes reset to the new value. In counties like Miami-Dade, you're looking at an effective rate of 0.97%, while in Polk or Pasco, it's closer to 0.80%. The turning point for my clients is when we run a full mission profile cost analysis. We don't just look at the VA loan payment, we look at the total carry. This brings us to the third zone, South Florida, or the Opportunity Acceleration Zone. This includes West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami. South Florida operates differently than the rest of the state. This region connects directly into global aviation, finance, and international trade. For a veteran transitioning into a high-level consulting role or an aviation career, this positioning creates access that simply doesn't exist elsewhere. You have world-class international travel infrastructure at your doorstep. However, complexity increases here. Families who move here with a strategy, like the hold and rent strategy, usually benefit quickly because the rental demand is insatiable. This zone is high speed, high reward, and rewards those who enter with a clear reconnaissance plan. Is your primary residence within 90 minutes of a major VA medical center? If not, your long-term health anchor is at risk. Here's why Central Florida is the fix. Now let's talk about the second mission zone, Central Florida, or the Family Launch Zone. This includes Orlando, the Space Coast region, and the Lakeland and Polk County Growth Belt. This zone supports families thinking beyond the next move, families thinking about the next decade, especially those with school-aged children. This region sits inside one of the fastest growing education and technology corridors in the Southeast. Where your children grow up influences what they see as possible. Central Florida offers direct connection to aerospace, simulation, engineering, and massive healthcare expansion systems. The University of Central Florida has become one of the largest engineering feeder universities in the country. That affects opportunity access across the entire region. Families who position themselves inside this corridor early often create advantages their children benefit from years later. Another advantage here is builder expansion. Central Florida continues growing rapidly, and that growth creates opportunity. New construction communities continue opening, and builder incentive programs appear more frequently than they do in older coastal markets. These incentive programs sometimes include interest rate support, closing cost assistance, and flexible move-in timelines. For veterans using VA financing, builder corridors can create powerful leverage when timing is planned correctly. That leverage improves affordability and long-term flexibility. Family launch zones work especially well for households planning longer residency timelines and for veteran families who want their relocation decision to support the next generation instead of just solving the next move. Use the 90-minute rule here. Ensure your primary residence is within 90 minutes of a major VA medical center to ensure your long-term health anchor is secure. We've mapped the stability and the growth. Now we need to talk about the hard intelligence regarding insurance and taxes. South Florida is high speed and high reward. If you're moving for a career in global finance or aviation, this is your opportunity acceleration zone. Now that we have mapped the regions, the final step is choosing which one fits your situation best. The correct mission zone is not determined by popularity. It's determined by alignment with your daily life, your timeline, and your VA benefits. Let's walk through the 5-step method you can use to identify your mission zone before you start looking at homes. Step 1 is mapping your daily life. Start with 3 locations. Where will you work? Where will your children attend school? And where will your healthcare appointments happen? Those 3 anchors shape your relocation map immediately. Daily life determines geography, not the other way around. Step 2 is understanding your relocation timeline. Timing changes strategy. If you're relocating 3 years before retirement, focus on growth corridors. If you have already separated, focus on building structure quickly and establishing a strong base of operations. Step 3 is using your VA benefits strategically. VA financing reduces down payment barriers, and disability exemptions can reduce property tax exposure. But those advantages only work when they are part of your strategy before you find a house. Step 4 is understanding insurance geography. Insurance planning begins with location planning. Choosing the right corridor early helps avoid surprises later. Finally, step 5 is planning for flexibility. Ask yourself if this home could become a rental later or if your employment location could change. Mission zone positioning protects flexibility better than any single property ever can. Alignment is about making sure your home supports your next 10 years of life instead of just the next closing. Your VA loan isn't just a housing program, it's a wealth generation engine that lets you control a massive asset with $0 of your own capital. Your final PCS move should not feel like another assignment. It should feel like stability. Your commute should improve, your healthcare access should improve, your school positioning should improve, and your tax structure should reward your service. Florida works best when relocation improves all of those areas at once. Mission zone selection is how that happens. Choose the zone first, then choose the house. The VA loan isn't just a housing program, it's a wealth generation engine that allows you to control a valuable asset with $0 of your own capital. The problem is that most people finish a briefing like this and do nothing. They go back to Zillow, get overwhelmed, and stay put in a state that doesn't respect their service or their paycheck. The turning point is right now. You have more information than 90% of the people moving to Florida. You are the hero of this story, and you've earned the right to claim your piece of the high ground. But you don't have to do it alone. A mission this important requires a guide who knows where the hidden costs are buried. The invitation is simple. Don't just look at Florida, execute a targeted reconnaissance. If this episode helped you understand how Florida relocation strategy actually works, go ahead and download it so you can come back to it later. If you know another service member planning a move to Florida in the next 1 to 3 years, share this with them. And if you are planning your own move and want help mapping the right mission zone for your situation, Click the link in the description to get your Florida home buying strategy. Reach out and start the conversation. The right positioning decision today can change what the next decade looks like for your family. As always, everything you want is on the other side of fear. The Florida Veterans Real Estate Podcast is brought to you by Exit Inspired Real Estate. All information is for educational purposes. Consult a professional before making financial decisions. Equal housing opportunity out here.